there. Good afternoon? Afternoon. Like 3:20? I've been dreaming for someone like myself, but here we are. Here we are. Indeed we are. At least I'm here. Oh, always. If I'm streaming, I'm here. Right? Oh, work. Oh. Little Idols 2627 to start the stream. The song before that was it Mayday, spelled MEYD. Idols, classic track coming. What's up, homie? What are we doing? Like kind of watch it. No, not working right now, and how else am I supposed to watch these? Working, so this work. Go
hey
ahead.
You, and welcome.
Perfect. Oh, I can't.
Welcome. My name is Mike, and in this old video, what we are doing is we are going down under might. No, not Sydney, Melbourne. If any Australian made it this far into the video, congratulations. I won't be doing it again. In this old video, folks, I have a pretty tragic one for you. Wow, who could have guessed the true crime guy has another tragic story for you? This is the story of a woman who was walking home as you do, as we all do every day. But she would not make it, like we've seen in a number of stories.
Right now too. Oh, right.
Also, you
Don't
got the
miss.
whole, someone tried to warn the authorities, but they didn't take them very seriously. That whole thing, which we've also seen before. So kind of really ticks all the boxes here. Let's give it a go.
Dude, Mike. I love Mike. The best. Probably one of my favorite holidays.
Not far from the University of Melbourne and the RMIT. That is the Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology to you and me. Look at you. Lies the inner city suburb of Brunswick, known primarily for a thriving live music scene and artsy community. Basically, it's kind of everything you'd expect from an area, in close proximity to two major universities. The hipster highway, they call it. Do that, I have no idea if to actually do, but maybe they should. I'll leave it up to you. Now, while Brunswick, it's not a war zone by any stretch of the imagination. It has also had its kind of violent incidents, like the gangland killing of a guy named Lewis Moran in 2004. Moran himself had previously been linked to several gang-related murders around the Brunswick area.
Perfect.
So not great. I mean, unless you're connected to like the Melbourne gangland scene. Although then also maybe it's not great. It's kind of just like a melange of not great, but also great. Because Brunswick is considered a pretty safe place to drink and dance the night away. Boogie, ? You wanna? Why not? But in 2012, that image was shattered by a random act of violence that, if the Australian justice system had simply worked the way it's, kind of supposed to, would never have happened. That'd knock the Golden Gaytime out of you pretty quick. Jill Marr was born in 1982, and she had moved to Australia 3 years earlier in 2009. For what else but love? Jill had actually lived in Australia previously and had spent the majority of her early childhood in Perth with her parents, George and Edith. They had moved there for George to take up a new job. In 1996, the family moved back to Jill's birthplace, that's Drogheda in County Louth in Ireland, and there she would start at the local school before eventually moving on to St. Oliver's Community College. Jill, she finished her education in Ireland, earning a degree from UCD, University College Dublin, which is where she would meet the love of her life, Tom Marr. After university, Jill would in fact go on to work for RTE, which is the public broadcaster. Essentially, it's kind of like Ireland's version of the BBC, but shite. Jill and Tom married in 2008 and moved to Australia in 2009.
But shite.
when Ireland, much like the rest of the world, was in the depths of, the recession and that whole rigmarole. A lot of Irish people actually moved to Australia around that time. Obviously, because I guess there was no jobs here. Did I? Have you seen their spiders? Did I? Fuck. So fast forward to a warm evening that was on the
Yeah,
21st of
but
September 2012. And now, the 29-year-old Jill Maher was a producer and occasional on-air personality with ABC Radio Melbourne. That evening, a Friday, she called her husband Tom to let him know she and a few friends from work were planning on a cocktail or two, and then asked if he fancied joining them for a few sups. He himself was grand, you go out, have a good time with your friends. And so the group had drinks at the Brunswick Green on Sydney Road before rounding off their evening at Bar Etiquette, a bar literally 10 minutes walk from Jill's Luxway apartment, where Tom was waiting. As they called it a night around 1:30 a.m., a friend offered to drop Jill off in a taxi, but being just minutes away from home, she turned down the offer in favor of a brief walk home. A walk she had taken a hundred times before. Tom Maher woke up on the sofa in the early hours of the 22nd
fine.
of September with absolutely no sign of Jill in the house at all. She had not come home. A couple of unanswered phone
That's
calls
why.
later, and knowing that Jill wasn't the type, to just stay out all night and not to hear, a peep peep from her, he walked out. Like, this is in the very wee hours of the morning. He walked out thinking, well, maybe something, maybe she had an accident. Maybe she tripped and fell or slipped or something. Anything, not to think the worst case scenario. I'm sure she's fine. I'm sure she's around a corner. Let me have a look. Tom, he searched for a couple of hours, circling around and around the neighborhood, and he knew where she was last, and he knew it was only literally a couple minutes walk, circling the block, kind of getting more frantic as the clock ticked. Finally, frantic and realizing something could be very, very wrong, around 6 a.m., still trying to hide his panic as much as possible, Tom called the police and he reported his wife missing. The police were pretty quick to respond, well done lads, and set up line searches of the areas between where Jill was last seen and their home just a few minutes from the last bar she was seen at.
We've been contacting friends and people who might have been there and people who might have known where she's been, but we haven't really got anything. We've keep pushing the social media thing, and we've had posters up around Brunswick and stuff, but nothing's actually come to light yet. So we're obviously really worried, and we just would love to anyone who has any information at all or has knows anything about that night to just contact us or the police.
Meanwhile, Tom, he called around Jill's friends, including, the people she'd been drinking just that night. But no dice. No one had seen or heard anything from Jill after she left Bar Etiquette and started, just walking home. The police searches turned up nothing. At a dead end and seriously concerned for Jill's safety, investigators contacted Jill's bank and mobile phone company, hoping there'd been some activity and she'd chosen to go away. She just had enough. Something had happened, but it happened by choice. Things happen, and as shitty as that would be for Tom, it was a better alternate than what the police were already beginning to think happened that night. Bank inquiries, they would turn up nothing. There had been no movement, money withdrawn, ATM usage, any of that sort of dealios, but her phone had moved. But not in the direction of her apartment. It had moved ways away.
Police are looking into bank records today to see if there's any activity and anything. So hopefully they get a location of that,
so
if the bank card has been used, because that was the only thing that was with her, a bank card and a phone. She left her purse at home. So hopefully something's picked up with that.
Tom, what are you going through?
Hell. It's just devastating, but yeah, just trying to push on as much as possible.
What's keeping you going?
Just hope somebody saw something, or she just walked through the door.
Early on, the investigation focused, as it always does, on, the closest, and Jill and his family lived back in Ireland. So Tom, it's always the husband. It's always, come on, I've seen this movie before. Always the husband. In fact, the early chatter, the media, the social media was actually, yeah, oh, Tom, he clearly must have done something to his wife, and now he was, appealing for information. They're probably kind of like, ooh, they were licking their chops at the idea, hoping that he had done something, because we've seen this kind of story in Australia even before. I don't know if you remember a case I covered a couple of years ago. Alison Baden Clay, her husband Jared Clay, did the whole thing. He killed her and then did the whole, oh, I hope she turns up. That Tom had done something to Jill and had concocted this whole disappearance as a cover. But it was nope, not that story. Thanks, pal. But people didn't want to think. They never want to think. Nobody in the right mind wants to think that a woman just walking home alone could be the victim of an attack by a complete stranger. No, she must have known the person. Therefore, if she knew the person, it was personal. I'm safe. I don't know anybody like that. I'm not in danger. But if it was a stranger and it happened to her, it could happen to anybody. And throwing fuel on the already raging social media fire, routine police searches of Jill and Tom's apartment were caught on camera, and the online witch hunt threatened to spin out of control. He was convicted, by keyboard warriors when the investigation was still beginning. Those TikTok dipshits probably would have released his social security number already.
Irish woman Jill Maher was last seen in the early hours of Saturday morning. Police hold serious concerns for her welfare.
It's been more than 40 hours now and Thomas Maher still hasn't seen or heard from his wife.
She's my best friend. She's this isn't something she doesn't do. So, yeah. Excuse me, sorry.
29-year-old Jill, an Irish national employed at the ABC, was out drinking with friends on a typical Friday night at her local bar Etiquette on Sydney Road, Brunswick. It was around 2 a.m. when she decided to leave and made the 5-minute walk home.
She was with another group of friends, the same group of friends there, and then the last person to see her got in a cab and she was going to go walk home, and she hasn't been seen since.
Friends say Jill would often take a shortcut through this laneway off Sydney Road near Safeway. Police are now reviewing CCTV cameras.
Safeway is in
Feeling like
Australia?
somebody did something to her, or she's, I just don't know where she is. I'd love to just know where she is or what happened. Or
Tom, however, to the dismay of many, he could be ruled out fairly quickly. Jill's phone had pinged at Hope Road, near the couple's apartment on Lux Street, before moving north along the Tullamarine Freeway at around 4:30 a.m, before the signal cut out near Gisborne, a small town 33.5 miles northwest of Melbourne. That just happened to be right when Tom had been out searching for Jill around Sydney Road and had been caught clearly on CCTV. He simply couldn't have had anything to do with Jill's disappearance. By Monday morning, Jill had been missing for more than 48 hours, and apart from the general direction of where her mobile phone had gone, investigators had very little to go on. That is, until they got an unexpected 911 call from the public.
There's been a new development in the search for missing Melbourne woman Jill Maher.
Someone cutting through an alleyway to Hope Road had found a woman's handbag, a handbag with an ABC worker's ID card inside. Police responded and took Tom to check it out and see if he could identify any of the items. He quickly confirmed it belonged to Jill. A crime scene specialist brought in to help out with the scene analysis found several unsmoked cigarettes and a pencil with the ABC logo laying on the ground not far from where the handbag had been placed. Nearby, this specialist, he pointed to a flattened, darkened section of grass, and he said it looked like to him what he'd seen many times before, the scene of a sexual assault. Perhaps even more worrying, though, was the handbag appearing itself, because the morning of, when the search immediately began, the police had searched that alleyway, and they were they were dead sure it had not been there, when they had looked previously. So where did it come from? Did the killer come back? Leave it back there? Was it like the BTK killer, do you want to play a game? Doing some kind of weird, sick shit? It was actually a lot more stupid than that, if you can believe it. It turned out that a local shopkeeper on Saturday morning, when they were opening up their business, had found Jill's handbag lying outside front and had, opened the shop, found the handbag, took it in, didn't tell anyone. It wasn't until the following Monday morning that this shopkeeper was on the phone to their daughter, who mentioned to them about Jill Marr disappearing in that exact area. And so, well, the shopkeeper got spooked, and we're like, oh. And so they got their handbag out, went back to the alley where they found it, and were like,
What?
bad idea. Silly. Stupid even. Moronical. Even with the handbag discovery, the investigators, though, were still unsure of where Jill was and if she was alive. Suspicions of foul play were further aroused when on Tuesday morning, an employee of the Duchess Boutique, a bridal shop on Sydney Road, not far from the bar where Jill was last seen, handed over to police a CCTV recording from the Saturday night. CCTV captured a man in a blue hoodie and jeans pacing back and forth on Sydney Road. Minutes later, Jill, on her walk home, passed the shop and appeared to talk to the man in the hoodie.
What? What do you do?
Detectives
For what?
quickly made him the main suspect and target of the investigation and set about trying to identify the mystery man, at the same time debating whether or not to release the images to the public. They knew the likelihood of Jill being alive was slim. They also knew that if she was alive and being held somewhere, releasing the image could push them to harm her in order to cover their tracks. In the end, the decision was made to release the CCTV, along with an appeal to the public for any information that could help them find the man in the blue hoodie, as he quickly became known. I would have gone for the blue bastard, but to each to their own. It would be another video, though, in fact, that would provide clues as to Jill's whereabouts. See, when following the route Jill's phone had taken before the signal died, police found a worrying crossover. At the same time as cell phone data placed Jill's phone on the Tullamarine Freeway, a CityLink camera logged a car belonging to a man named Adrian Bailey travelling in the same direction. 41-year-old Adrian Bailey was already known to the police because he was a straight-up piece of shit. Bailey's long criminal history began at age 18 when, in 1991, he raped a 16-year-old friend of his sister. The next year, he attempted to assault a 17-year-old girl as she was walking home from a bus stop, getting arrested just over a week later when she managed to identify him to the police. Released on bail, he attempted yet another sexual assault, this time on a 16-year-old hitchhiker. He was determined. Now again, his victim managed to identify him and he was re-arrested, and eventually he'd be jailed for 5 years with a minimum of 3 to be served. Wow, what a sentence. I'm sure he'll be rehabilitated after that. Oh wait, it gets even better when he would be released early after serving just a whopping 22 months. If that boggles your mind, then click, strap yourselves in. Over the span of less than a year, from September 2000, Bailey would commit a series of assaults in the St. Kilda area of Victoria. Each woman was driven to a secluded lane and attacked in his car. In April 2001, he was arrested and charged with 5 counts of rape. After pleading guilty, he was sentenced to 11 years in prison with a minimum non-parole period of 8 years. Bailey was eventually released after completing, a sex offender program. And then while out on parole, he just randomly bet the shit out of a guy outside a cafe. So he was in pal, he would plead guilty and be sentenced to a whopping 3 months. To which, he contested. He kind of would plead against as it being too harsh. No, mate! My accent's getting better. Now, investigators had this scumbag piece of shit's phone tracking the same route as missing Jill's. Detectives immediately put Bailey under surveillance and started to do their research on him. But one swift look at his background and they knew they needed to get him into custody as fast as possible. He had to be their man in the blue hoodie. Bailey was arrested by officers on the 27th of September, 5 days after Jill had last been seen.
First to the latest developments in the haunting disappearance of ABC staffer Jill Marr from the Melbourne suburb of Brunswick. Late today, nearly 6 days after she vanished, following a night out with friends, police arrested a man.
When asked if he had anything to do with the missing, Bailey, played the helpful innocent. He had nothing to do with it, and he'd spent the night looking for his girlfriend after they had an argument. He said he spent the night looking for his girlfriend after they had an argument, and this is his literal quote. He was looking for his girlfriend because women shouldn't walk on their own, Unknown to Bailey, police were actually carrying out a search of his home during the preliminary stages of the interview and found a SIM card in his washing. It was Jill's SIM card. When confronted with the physical evidence, Bailey's story changed and he finally admitted that he was the guy in the blue hoodie. According to Bailey, he just fucking innocently approached Jill as she was walking home and just started yapping away to her. Casual, friendly conversation by a complete stranger at about like 1:30 a.m. Then he tried to touch her, he tried to give her a little smooch, and she became aggressive with him, if you can believe that. I think he was the victim here. This caused him to see red, and before he knew it, he had strangled her to death. He went on to claim, though, he instantly regretted it. He had never, intentionally went out to hurt anybody. It was a horrible mistake, yada yada, who fucking cares? You can read the rage-inducing transcripts of when he was telling this to the police. Take your heart medication before it, because you laptop here. She flipped me off, and that made me angry, because I was actually trying to do a nice thing. You know that? She looked distraught, She looked like she was lost. She didn't, and I don't know, man. Always try to do the right thing, most of the time, and I didn't take well to her response. This is literally the transcript, guys. He says, a lot. Don't know if you can see it, probably not, but he says it, trust me. I want to do the right thing, I don't care. I'm going to jail for a long time. I hope they bring back the death penalty before I get sentenced. Me too, pal. There's no explanation and there's no excuses for this. Alright? For her family this week it must have been hell. You know what I mean? I need to be an actor. Now the detectives, they had a hunch. Maybe it's like a cop thing, a good feeling really that maybe there's a little bit more to his story than he was letting on. And that maybe it didn't happen the way he was telling them. But more importantly, they had a confession to work from, and most of all, they needed to recover Jill's body. After a little persuading, Bailey revealed, though he couldn't tell them exactly where Jill's body was, he told them he was sure if they took him to the general area, he'd be able to point it out. So late that night, the detective drove Bailey out to Gisborne, the same Melbourne town where Jill's phone was last known to have travelled. After driving around for hours, and just as the detectives were beginning to lose hope, as they turned onto Blackwell Lane, Bailey suddenly raised his head and told the driver to pull over. When asked to show them exactly where they needed to look, Bailey refused and would only point to the place he'd buried Jill Marr's half-naked body in less than 40 centimeters of soil.
That man is 41-year-old Adrian Bailey from Coburg.
Do we know how this arrest came about, Gloria? Was it as a result of the release of the CCTV footage?
Well, police are saying that the CCTV footage was a vital piece of evidence that actually helped move forward the case. And they've also said that the huge social media campaign, which was launched after the disappearance of Jill Marr, was also of extreme help to them in trying to work out what happened to Ms. Marr.
The news of Jill's body being found and the arrest of the man responsible drew a very strong reaction from both the public and the media, both positive and negative, grief and anger. Things got so intense at one point, the Commissioner of Police had to publicly request that people refrain from commenting on the case on social media so as to not jeopardize any potential trial. Wonder how that went. Wow, telling people not to talk about it on social media. It's really hard to put into words quite how strong the reaction by the public was and how grief-stricken the city, probably the country, was. On the 30th of September 2012, 3 days after Jill's body was found, over 30,000 people attended a march in Jill's memory as part of the Take Back the Night movement.
Strictly friends and family inside the service. Jill's parents united in grief with her husband.
She was so precious to us and we loved her so much, and the light she brought to our lives almost 30 years ago will shine on us forever.
ABC colleagues among the mourners, the service a celebration of life. Friends turned tears of grief into tears of laughter, even standing up and dancing. Jill was learning to be a clown, her ambition to write her own comedy series. Friends said she was clumsy and goofy, but always had style.
She's the only person I've ever encountered who has actually literally slipped on a banana skin. And she was proud of it.
Jill's mother Edith spoke to the marchers after a minute's silence was held. She thanked the people of Melbourne for the support they had shown the family during the investigation and throughout the aftermath of Jill's death. It initially looked like Bailey was going to drag Jill's parents and her husband through just the good old hell that these pieces of shit usually do by saying he was initially going to say he was pleading not guilty, so look forward to a trial.
Accused of the rape and murder of Jill Maher has appeared before the Melbourne Magistrates Court. Adrian Ernest Bailey was charged before a packed courtroom over the death of the 29-year-old ABC employee.
He backtracked, though, pretty quickly when being reminded, oh yeah, he already told him he'd killed her. So things went from bad to worse for Bailey when a suppression order was lifted, allowing the introduction of his prior violent criminal history in any trial for Jill's murder. He basically had no chance whatsoever of getting off, so yippee, but any idea of any kind of remorse braided back into public outrage, when not only was the extent of Bailey's disturbing history revealed in court, a lot of fury was redirected towards the Australian parole system. You see, when I said Bailey was released from his 11-year sentence for the 5 St Kilda attacks, yeah, he was still on parole for that when he was released and committed the random assault that would get him a 3-month custodial sentence. The one he said was too harsh on him, you know, the one he was appealing against. So not only had he done horrible crimes, been out on parole, then he didn't even go back into prison. He was out on bail pending appeal for the assault when he got 3 months and said it was so harsh. That's when he killed Jill. So he was already on parole for his parole, and he was still out and about and able to do all this kind of shit show.
Disbelief is now anger, lashing out at the Adult Parole Board's failure to reply to an email seeking answers over Bailey's release. Mr. Maher wrote, "I can see the vigour you put into capriciously pouring rapists and murderers onto our streets does not extend to responding to victims of your incompetence." He continued, "Whether this is the slow-moving cogs of government bureaucracy, laziness, or good old-fashioned cowardice is of little importance to me."
The situation would go from a series of unfortunate decisions to out-and-out, just stupid, I guess is the only thing I can think of. When it came out that shortly before he'd murdered Jill, Adrian Bailey had committed even more attacks in and around the same area. Offences that, had he been caught for, Jill Maher would still be here. In June 2013, less than a year after the murder, Bailey would be sentenced to serve at least 35 years in prison. The Supreme Court Justice remarking during the sentencing hearing that had it not been for the last-ditch guilty plea, it would have been life without parole. Great, so you're giving him water, like he's only pleading guilty to get less years. He should be sent away for life without parole. Ridiculous.
Part of the reason why the judge said he gave the sentence that he did was because he said that Bailey expressed some degree of remorse. What did you think about that? I mean, did you think he was remorseful, and did you think that it mattered?
No and no. I don't think he was. I don't see how he was remorseful. I don't see how a man who continually does the same thing over and over again can be considered remorseful. No, I don't think it matters at all. Like, if it would matter in maybe some cases, but not in the case of a serial offender, not in the case of somebody who keeps doing it over and over again. If he has a little cry, I mean, I don't know what difference that makes to sentencing at all. It's baffling. It's bewildering to sit there and listen to somebody sort of coddle this man with ideas of remorse. And you know, who cares if he has remorse?
You know, Bailey's own mother, after Jill's murder, would call into a radio show saying how she had tried to contact his parole officer, telling him, you know, he really shouldn't be out and about. Like, he's not a good soul. Maybe kind of throw him away, lock away. Like, when his own mother was the one saying he should not be in public, like he's a predator. Take the hint.
The system failed. He shouldn't have been on the streets.
And let me tell you, Neil, I went high and I told them that I had concerns. And nobody listened to me. Nobody. His parole officer didn't listen to me. I went into the city to an office at the justice system, in the justice system. Nobody listened to me.
This is before. Is this before he killed Jill?
Yes, it is.
You can
Yes, it is.
The 35-year minimum non-parole period would be extended to 43 years when Bailey stood trial for assaulting 2 sex workers and a Dutch backpacker in the months leading up to Jill's murder. What's really upsetting is that the facial reconstruction the Dutch backpacker managed to give police after the attack looks like it was Bailey. Like, you know, they did one of these facial reconstructions where they get the eyes of this person, the mouth of this person to make it a face. It was like, bam, that was him. Straight up. The girl told police that Bailey pulled up in his car and warned her he thought a car was following her. After offering her a ride, he took her away to a secluded area and he attacked her. She only managed to get away because she managed to convince him that they should go back to her place, and then she ran inside to her housemates. Another one of his victims, an 18-year-old sex worker, she had literally been reading a pamphlet about, you know, a dangerous predator, a man in the area, like, assaulting women. She had literally been reading it when Adrian pulled up. She got in, and then she was like, wow, you know, there's some fucking psychopath out there. And then he pretty much just turned and looked at her and said, yeah, you're looking at him. There's so many things, like, leading up to what happened to Jill, that if it had just been done, like, slightly differently by people with, like, a modicum of competence, a lot of pain could have been, you know, spared, really. The depressing thing is, if the system had just worked the way it's supposed to, if the rules had been enforced the way people expected them to be, things would have been different. It's heartbreaking to think what could have been, but it wasn't. And that ends this whole story. Sinead, Tom, he would eventually move back to Ireland without Jill. Her parents obviously would have to... There would be memorials and marches and all things for her, which is great to see. Bailey should have been sent away. Life without parole. Cut his dick off. But the one thing I'll say to cut it out is that, like, it's not all bad news. He was stabbed in prison, so thanks, you know, crikey, in a positive way for that one. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you taking the time to be here watching this little video with Misha. I appreciate it a lot. That kind of wraps it up, so I'll see you, like, real soon in the next one.
There. Okay. Which is 3 hours Mount Welsh.
Dan here with a new episode for you. Initially, this was a show only for patrons of the podcast, but upon listening to it, this is really more 3 arrows than Iron Dice content, although the line is a little blurry there. Anyway, enjoy. Hey, how's it going, everyone? Dan here with another bonus show, one that I have been very much looking forward to. The US midterms, in which the Republicans achieved a historically bad result, are now behind us. And historically really is the appropriate term, considering that a midterm election in which the Republicans lost ground in terms of the raw number of state legislative seats has only happened twice in the last 100 years. The reason why I'm only talking about this now, because I wanted to wait for the Georgia runoff that happened this week. That one has now also been won by the Democratic candidate Raphael Warnock, so I think it's safe to say that Republicans took a big L, especially considering all the talk about a red wave sweeping the country. Given that the election happened in early November, most angles of commentary have been touched upon, so you don't need me to retread them here. But there is one aspect to this I haven't seen too much on, and that is what I want to focus on today. Because it finally gives me a reason to talk about US politics in a way that is somewhat optimistic, which I found very difficult to do recently. That optimism doesn't stem from the fact that the Democrats did good, but that Republicans did so poorly with the messaging they choose for this election. And of course that varies somewhat from state to state, but there is one consistent through line that Republicans were convinced of would get them the numbers that they needed, and it didn't. If there is one issue Republicans hammered on the most on a national level, it's transphobia and scaremongering about gender indoctrination. This isn't just something they use to win votes, though, but goes hand in hand with a legislative push to discriminate against the LGBTQ community. A push that has enormously increased in the last 2 to 4 years. So, I'm gonna paint a little picture for you here to show you just how much Republicans have gone in on attacking LGBTQ people recently. And then we'll take a look at how that worked out for them. This comes courtesy of NBC News. Quote, state lawmakers have proposed a record 238 bills that would limit the rights of LGBTQ Americans this year, or more than 3 per day, with about half of them targeting transgender people specifically. Nearly 670 anti-LGBTQ bills have been filed since 2018, according to an NBC News analysis of data from the American Civil Liberties Union and LGBTQ advocacy group Freedom for All Americans, with nearly all of the country's 50 state legislators having weighed at least one bill. Throughout that time, the annual number of anti-LGBTQ bills filed has skyrocketed from 41 bills in 2018 to 238 bills in less than 3 months
Like
of
Stitch,
2022.
right?
And this
Lilo and
year's
Stitch.
historic tally quickly follows what some advocates had labeled the worst year in recent history for LGBTQ state legislative attacks, when 191 bills were proposed last year.
The audio's all
Now,
right.
while the LGBTQ community as a whole is the target of these bills in terms of restricting school curriculums and the like, there is one aspect here I want to highlight today, and that is the targeting of trans people specifically. Because while discrimination of gay people under the guise of religious freedom goes back much further than the last 5 years, there is a huge uptick now wrapped up in the panic Republicans want to stir around trans people in sports, which bathrooms they are allowed to use, and more. There is also a specific reason for this, namely that Republican lawmakers believe that demonizing or discriminating against trans people specifically provides an in for them to target the entire LGBTQ community more broadly. It's not like conservatives in the US simply dropped their homophobia when gay marriage became legal with the Supreme Court ruling on Obergefell versus Hodges in 2015. The problem they have is that American society as a whole has become overwhelmingly hostile towards the discrimination their base wants to push. According to a poll by PRRI, nearly 80% of Americans support non-discrimination protections for LGBTQ people, with Democrats coming in at 89%, Independents at 82%, and Republicans at 65%. So, what do you do when you have all this homophobia among your base and the religious right, but pushing the legislation they want is so unpopular? You divide and conquer. You pick out one specific target to chip away at that allows you to pay lip service towards the pro-gay stance of American society, while still being able to deliver for your homophobic and transphobic base. And that is where the attacks on trans people specifically come from. Now, I should say that it's not like gay people don't face similar attacks, like with the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida that could see a teacher, for instance, punished if they tell their students that they have a partner of the same sex. But in the context of the midterms, trans people seem to be the focus of Republicans' ire. This really began in 2016 with North Carolina's bathroom bill. That was the first very high-profile case I can think of, and from there it just went up and up and up. According to the ACLU in 2018, there were 19 bills of that ilk introduced. 2019 saw 25. That then more than doubled the year later with 60 bills, before doubling again in 2021, reaching 131 bills. This year, 2022, as of October, that number has risen to 155. Now, not all of these passed, luckily, because Republicans aren't in power in every state, but the attempt itself puts a target on trans people's back for sure. Trans advocate Alyssa McKenzie from Orlando said in the Washington Post, quote, "I don't know how to describe to somebody that isn't going through it how it feels to have the anxiety of waking up every morning not knowing whether your state is going to attack your right to exist. To do all of the things that so many people never ever have to question or think about. This isolation that Alyssa McKenzie is talking about becomes very apparent when you actually dig into the number of people targeted by these bills. The case of Utah, which became the 12th state to implement bans targeting transgender athletes, is worth looking at here. When the Republican state lawmakers initially passed a bill that would ban transgender students from participating in girls' sports, it was vetoed by the Republican governor of that state. Here is some of what Governor Spencer Cox wrote regarding his decision to veto this bill. Quote,
Bye.
"Finally,
So happy.
there is one more important
Excited.
reason for this veto. I must admit, I am not an expert on transgenderism. I struggle to understand so much of it, and the science is conflicting. It's not, I want to add here. When in doubt, however, I always try to err on the side of kindness, mercy, and compassion. I also try to get proximate, and I'm learning so much from our transgender community. They are great kids who face enormous struggle. Now here comes the important part. Here are the numbers that have most impacted my decision. 75,000, 4, 86, and 56. 75,000 high school kids participating in high school sports in Utah. 4 transgender kids playing high school sports in Utah. 1 transgender student playing girls' sports. 86% of trans youth reporting suicidality. 56% of trans youth having attempted suicide.
That's
4
fucking
kids,
crazy.
and only 1 of them playing girls' sports. That is what this is all about. 4 kids who aren't dominating or winning trophies and taking scholarships. 4 kids who are just trying to find some friends and feel like they are part of something.
Yeah.
4 kids trying to get through each day. Rarely has so much fear been directed at so few. I don't understand what they are going through or why they feel the way they do, but I want them to live. The response to this by the Republicans in the Utah Senate and House was basically saying, yeah, that's nice, but we don't care. They overrode his veto, and the law went into effect in July of 2022. For 5 trans people,
That's
1
fucking
of them
insane.
playing sports, 4 of
That's
them in high
fucking
school,
crazy.
in a state of over 3 million people. Think of how fucking debauched and just consumed with hate you have to be to do that. Something similar happened in Indiana, where Republican Governor Eric Holcomb vetoed a bill banning transgender women and girls from competing on public school sports teams consistent with their gender. He said at the end of his letter on the matter that, quote, "The presumption of the policy laid out is that there is an existing problem in K-12 sports in Indiana that requires further state government intervention. It implies that the goals of consistency and fair in competitive female sports are not currently being met. After thorough review, I find no evidence to support either claim, even if I support the overall goal." End quote. Not to mention that Indiana already has a policy in place since 2017 that requires transgender athletes wishing to compete in sports to apply for a waiver confirming that they have been living as their gender identity for at least a year. Additionally, transgender girls must prove they have undergone either hormone therapy for at least a year or surgery.
I think this is what the disc golf world is implementing as well.
There have been 2 waiver applications. Not 2,000, not 200, not even 20. 2. But, quote, no evidence, as Eric Holcomb put it, has never stopped the conservative movement as far as I know. And the state Senate and House
Christ.
voted to override that veto as well. That said, banning trans people from participating in sports is just one slice of the broader Republican assault right now. The arguably most alarming type of laws surround trans healthcare. This paragraph comes courtesy of the Washington Post that did a
Yeah,
good
I
write-up
mean,
on
that's the
this.
funny thing,
Quote,
right? Like,
"These
ultimately, like, transgender, like, people's involvement in sports, like, it's a thing, right? But right now, focusing on that generalized fucking topic, we need to be so much more focused on just, like, right to your identity, your right to transition, your right to feel the way that you feel, and feel differently than the way that you feel. All of that is kind of like the biggest thing, right? We get, I think sometimes, like, when Republicans do stuff like this, focus on the sport aspect of it, we, as, lefties or whatever, we see it as wrong, and we jump in and we want to stop it. Sure, it makes sense. But while we're doing that, like, we're completely missing this whole other thing over here, right? It just feels like one of those things of picking our battles. But at the same time, if they keep picking away at these little things, and one little right here, one little right there, one little right there, one little right there, and eventually all of these rights accumulate, and it's a lot of rights. It's your whole being that is no longer available to you, right? So I get both sides of it, but yeah, it's just one of those things of like where Shaggy, well, what up, Shaggy? It's one of those things where it feels like a game of, like, look over here while the real stuff is happening over here. That's what it feels like sometimes. Like, we tend to do it in the left. Like, I'm trying to think of an example. Like, and maybe to some extent, like, something that could go by generally unnoticed, can be made so loud that when people turn and look at it, they don't understand it, they'll react without that understanding, right? Just working hard, getting some sunshine after all these crazy storms. Are you still in Utah? What kind of storms were you getting in Utah, bro? Snowstorms? Character was weak. Why is this confusing me? It seems weird to be playing a platformer that goes to the right or goes to the left. Am I crazy? What am I missing? Okay. Okay. That to that, got it. Yeah. Nope. Okay. Don't want to do that. On the right way? I believe so. Hold A to jump higher. Wait, come down here. What's down here? Thing. Found a small spirit light container. Then add it to your shit. I forgot about the video.
These bills criminalize
I'm in
doctors
San
who
Francisco
provide
right
this
now,
highly
not in the place
individualized
that
form of
is getting
healthcare,
flooded. Oh,
which
damn.
can include medical
San Francisco's
interventions
getting rained
such
on
as
a lot.
puberty blockers
Yep,
and
still in
hormone
Salem.
therapy.
Still
They
in
could also
Salem. Got the
punish
month
parents
off.
for supporting their kids.
My job moved to Arizona, and I didn't want to go to Arizona, so I stayed in Oregon, and I lost my job. So I'm currently unemployed for the next few weeks. I do have a job already lined up, I'm just waiting for that to start. Fuck, what's the date today? The 10th. Okay, fuck. I need to make a reminder. I gotta remember to sign up for fucking health insurance. Yeah, I do, because no longer employee offered. It was it January 15th deadline. Okay, 5 days. 5 days. We're all right. Change isn't a bad thing. Arizona's meh. Yeah, I had no desire to go live in heat. I'm too used to like seasons and shit like that. I can't imagine not having seasons. Like nothing to look forward through throughout the
as
year.
they
Just
seek treatment.
a
States
cooler,
have also
sunny.
pressured
I don't know.
hospitals and clinics that provide gender-affirming care to shutter or stop offering those treatments for trans people, both behind the scenes and through legislation threatening to withhold funding, end quote. The reason why this interference by lawmakers when it comes to healthcare for trans people specifically is so evil is because, again, the people who suffered the brunt of this interference are younger people who are forced to go through puberty by either a lack of healthcare or the treatment they need just outright being banned. And going through puberty and seeing your body change into something that doesn't match your self-image can be very traumatic. This has become such a big problem that the American Medical Association called upon states to stop interfering in healthcare of trans individuals in an open letter. It reads, evidence has demonstrated that foregoing gender-affirming care can have tragic consequences. Transgender individuals are up to 3 times more likely than the general population to report or be diagnosed with mental health disorders, with as many as 41.5% reporting at least one diagnosis of mental health or substance use disorder. The increased prevalence of these mental health conditions is widely thought to be a consequence of minority stress, the chronic stress from coping with societal stigma, and discrimination because of one's gender identity and expression. Because of this stress, transgender minors also face a significantly heightened risk of suicide. Now, it's worth talking about the behind-the-scenes pressure here that the Washington Post article mentions, because this is something that is way less out in the open than, a bill. We can see a good example of this at the Children's Medical Center in Dallas, that saw itself forced to disband its gender-affirming care program in November of last year. For many families in Texas and neighboring states, this was the only option they had to provide health care to their children, and often parents had to drive 8 hours to an appointment at this medical center. This was by far the...
Dude, I haven't played Rocket League in a minute, man. I tried a little bit ago to like kind of
what's kind of weird about this,
to get into it again. I just Radish is gone, and Radish was my go-to player, and I don't really play it alone, right? So yeah, I haven't been playing Rocket League. I haven't touched it in fucking a long time. It would be rusty as fuck.
This whole thing is that no one who either worked in the child care program or higher ups of the medical center responded when asked to comment for a piece
What's in San Francisco? Just work?
About why they are disbanding the program. It's obviously not a lack of demand, considering the number of patients in gender-affirming care has only grown since they launched it. And then suddenly, they quietly close off the program to new patients and even scrub all references to it from their website. The just mentioned 19th followed up this story in March this year after obtaining recordings of internal meetings at this clinic. The title of the piece is Political Pressure Led to Shutdown of Texas' Largest Gender-Affirming Care Program. And it basically details how the governor's office really put the screws onto this hospital over their program for trans youth. The people working there increasingly feared that they personally might be subject to lawsuits alleging child abuse for simply providing health care. That, coupled with an onslaught of legislation aiming at restricting healthcare of trans youth, going as far as targeting doctors and parents, led to the shutdown of this medical center. In February of this year, Texas Governor Greg Abbott called upon licensed professionals and members of the general public to report the parents of transgender minors to state authorities if it appears the minors are receiving gender-affirming medical care. In addition, he made clear that the state law, quote, provides criminal penalties for failure to report such child abuse. There are really no words to describe how vile this stuff is, because there is no other aim here than inflicting pain on trans children and their parents, who are already facing a number of challenges as is. And the thing Republicans always bring up is how when you're a kid, you don't really have a full grasp of these issues, so what a person under 18 says about themselves shouldn't matter, basically. It's one of the cringy jokes they have, like, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a transformer, haha. But of course, nobody believes that someone at the age of 12, let's say, can fully decide how they want to live the rest of their entire life. But that is literally what trans healthcare is for. That is why it even exists, so that a parent who sees their child struggle with their gender can take it to a doctor, and together they can evaluate how to go forward. And if that kid is then prescribed puberty blockers, but down the line figures out that they are actually comfortable with the gender they were assigned at birth, they can decide with their doctor to ditch the medicine and go through puberty a little bit later in life. There are no two opinions on this. It's a net positive for them and for society at large to provide this healthcare. And this takes us to the other half of the attack on LGBTQ people and trans people more specifically. The legislation we've talked about doesn't just pop out of thin air. It's largely pushed by the conservative media machine, and the case of Texas is a good example of that.
What do we got
One
here?
reason why this became such a big deal in Texas is because of a child custody case in which the father of a child alleged that the mother was forcing their son to live as a girl. When this became a news story, the right, of course, jumped in on it, making it out to be an example of what they believe is happening all over the country. Liberal parents, or in this case, one parent, colluding with ideologically motivated healthcare professionals, forcing their child to wear dresses, giving them hormones, etc. And this case is very intertwined with the program of the above-mentioned Children's Medical Center in Dallas, because that is where the mother went for treatment of her child. In interviews, the father of this child said that his kid dresses like a boy and understands himself as a boy whenever the kid is with him, but when it's not, the mother allegedly made this child wear dresses and only addressed it as a girl. What every single article on this by the right-wing press omits is that the child in question was diagnosed by multiple pediatricians to suffer from gender dysphoria, as well as there being a huge amount of testimony by school staff and family members that the child in question identifies as a girl,
so weird.
without
Nope,
any
didn't mean to
instruction
do that,
to do
but-
so from the mother, who, by the way, already had 2 daughters. So the narrative of this mother wanting to have a
Dude, when I
daughter
click
so
RT,
bad
it
she made her
doesn't
son
mean here.
undergo treatment made 0 sense from the get-go. Senator Ted Cruz and Donald Trump Jr. got in on this, accusing the mother of abusing her child, and it wasn't long before Texas Governor Greg Abbott tweeted the following: FYI, the matter of 7-year-old, insert dead name here, is being looked into by the Texas Attorney's General Office and the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, bringing down the full force of the state on this mother. The details of this case aren't that important. There is a very good deep dive on YouTube about it that I will link, but basically, the father of this girl is a religious zealot and didn't want to accept his daughter being trans.
So weird.
So he made it into a story of a crazy liberal
So
mom
is it not gonna let me use the
abusing her
controller for
child.
this?
In an interview, the father says, quote, "It is totally against my religious beliefs to affirm him as a girl." Child Protective Services, who then investigated the mother at the behest of GOP officials, found no wrongdoing on her behalf, and that's basically it. All I can say is that it's incredibly tragic for this young girl who is already in a tough spot given the custody battle to be exploited like this by the right wing to drum up their transphobic base. And exploited for political clout, I should say, since her father then ran for office, plastering pictures of his kid all over his website and using the story for electoral gain. He lost in the primary though, so that's good, I guess. What's more interesting about this case to me is how
this is
the
weird.
right-wing media
So
lied about
Select
it,
is
and
my
those
fucking
lies directly leading to the
Select
governor's
is my
office pressuring the clinic this girl got her treatment at to a degree that it had to shut down its program. Because the other side of the Republican onslaught on trans rights revolves around conservative media. These bills, or the media storm around the custody battle in Texas, don't happen in a vacuum.
Okay, so it's
The
because it's a
dynamic that unfolded in
PS4
Texas
controller,
is the
so we're
MO
going
of right-wing media outlets where they take an event that
Let's
might
go ahead and
not
put
even
this
be a
Xbox on
local
then, so
news
we
story,
have an
and
actual accurate
relentlessly
controller
hammer
layout
it
here.
and try to connect it to a broader trend that is supposedly sweeping the country. And the reason why they do this so much is because the hardcore base of the Republicans really loves stories that seem to reaffirm their transphobic beliefs. According to Media Matters, right-leaning
There we
Facebook
go. Now we got it
pages
working.
earned nearly 2/3 of interactions on posts about trans issues. I would be surprised if the numbers from Fox News don't show a larger demand for stories shitting on trans people compared to other topics. So anything surrounding trans people hugely resonates within the conservative political sphere. Republican lawmakers see that and are increasingly incentivized to push for anti-trans legislation, no matter how nonsensical it is. If there is one person who, due to this insatiable transphobic thirst among the right, was successful in carving out his niche, it's a guy named Matt Walsh. Now, if you don't know who Matt Walsh is, he is someone who, until 2010, I can only assume hung around under a gas leak until he decided to become a conservative commentator. Now, I don't have kids as of right now, but if
I thought I had one.
I would definitely want to keep them away from this guy, because Matt Walsh seems unable to not talk about children in a very weird way. Be it about how the age of consent is kind of iffy, or children being sexualized by seeing drag queens, or doctors supposedly mutilating children. Lots of crazy stuff, but what I appreciate about him is that Matt Walsh offers a clear view into the American conservative mind, because he has no filter at all. With him, you get the pure essence of what conservatives believe, stripped of any lip service or moderation to make them seem less crazy. So it runs the gambit from thinking that trans people don't exist, it's all just a mental illness, being against gay marriage, saying that America lost its republic after Reconstruction, believing in the Great Replacement, take your pick. He is the guy who, among the right, made attacking LGBTQ people his claim to fame. Part of that is a documentary he made earlier this year that proposes to simply ask the question, what is a woman? In this documentary, he presents himself as this curious everyman who talks to academics, politicians, and people on the street about what a woman is. And in this documentary, Matt Walsh seems to struggle with a basic concept that most teenagers can understand, namely that while most people are assigned male or female at birth, what makes a woman is largely a collection of social signifiers,
Mhm.
because you have no idea what a person has between their legs when you meet them for the first time usually. So you go by things like, do they have long hair? What does their voice sound like? What body type do they have? And so on. But there's no biological basis to women typically having long hair or shaving their legs. These are things society has agreed upon to be things women do. What we see as a woman, societally, is a question of
Thought that was a good thing.
language, not so much biology, if you get what I'm saying. It's pretty simple. There are many, many scenes in the documentary worth exploring, but one interaction in particular is very enlightening. And that is when Matt Walsh talks to a social scientist at a university. Walsh asks him, what is the difference between sex and gender? And the response he gets is this long-wielded answer detailing our modern understanding of how sex and gender are intertwined, but that gender is largely a social category. In the documentary, the answer the professor gives is kind of sped up and mashed together, but at the end, Walsh just asks confused, so is there a difference? It's supposed to be this, haha, man, this professor guy surely is boring moment, but really just showcases how inept Matt Walsh is in grappling with these issues. The rest of the documentary is not that different from the typical conservative propaganda pieces out there. One moment where Matt Walsh is talking to a man about hormone blockers is pretty instructive, in my opinion. I have a short clip for you here.
And we're believing a pharmaceutical company, Lupron, hormone blockers, reversible, so they say. Well, the truth is that in 2003, Lupron was sued and deemed a criminal enterprise by the U.S. government. They paid the most fine of any pharmaceutical company at that time, $874 million, wrote a check.
Is Lupron chemical castration?
Yes.
This person brings up a drug named Lupron being part of a sweeping effort to sterilize children, supposedly, and in the same breath mentions a billion-dollar lawsuit. It's not outright said, but the impression the viewer gets is that this lawsuit and Lupron being prescribed to young trans individuals are somehow connected. Otherwise, why would you even bring this up in the same breath? Now, any person who has their senses together will hear this and think, what? That sounds ridiculous. And of course, when you look it up, you find out that not only did they settle this case in 2001, so 21 years ago, but that they had to pay this nearly billion-dollar fine over Medicare fraud.
Oh, fucking.
This company had essentially bribed doctors to prescribe Lupron to elderly men for prostate cancer, because that's what the drug is mainly used for. Now, the average eligibility age for Medicare is 65. For this case to be related to trans people in any way, there would have to have been an over 65-year-old male in the 90s who received Lupron as a puberty blocker from his doctor. I'm not a medical expert, but I'd be shocked if there was even a single case of this, because, you know, not that many over 65-year-olds go through puberty. Dare I say, none at all. Now, I don't have time to debunk the entire documentary here, but this gives you an idea of the dishonesty involved. It basically exists to reaffirm people who are already, let's say, skeptical towards the existence of trans people. But I doubt anyone else will get anything out of it. Ultimately, there is nothing I could say about this documentary that would be as damning as Matt Walsh's own words when he appeared on the Joe Rogan show. Now I'm gonna play a clip for you here where Matt Walsh is asked how many minors are currently on puberty blockers in the United States. Something he should have an easy time answering, considering he made a freaking documentary on this. He's then fact-checked, and yeah, take a listen for yourself.
How many people have had this done?
Depends on what. I don't think we have exact numbers, but it's, if we're talking about the drugs, it's, I mean, millions.
You're talking about hormone blockers.
Yeah.
Millions of
blockers
kids have been on hormone blockers? Really?
I'm sure someone's going to fact check me on it, but my guess is that we're into the millions now at this point. Yeah, that would be my guess. I can say for double mastectomies, I read a report recently that there were over 1,000 done between 2016 and 2019, and when you compare that to how many were done between 2008 and 2015, it's a massive increase. And over
massive!
1,000 girls.
How massive?
Gender affirming double mastectomies in that time frame.
And when you say girls, you're talking about prepubescent,
right? Minors, and that's just up until 2019, and then we know that there's been an exponential increase with all this stuff year over year. So it's a lot. It's too many. Having this happen to one kid is way too many. It's a lot more than one.
Yeah, look, if you're an adult and you want to do that, and you understand who you are and what you are, and this is how you feel and you should progress, you're an adult. This is a free country. You should be able to do whatever you want. But when you're talking about doing that to children, the fact that so many people are on board and so many people are angry, if you have people are going to be angry at us that we're having these conversations.
Yeah, they will be. And I also. I actually think that this shouldn't be happening to.
Who the fuck was that other?
Number, if that's right.
It says over the last 5 years, there were at least 4,780 adolescents who started puberty blockers and had a prior gender dysphoria diagnosis.
It says it's kind of undercounted, but
that would be a big
less than
undercounting.
1,000 people a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would guess hundreds of thousands at this, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Million sounds great.
Yeah.
For you, for him.
The Media Matters will have fun with that clip.
Yeah.
Matt Walsh claims it.
Okay, let's go through this because this is just
Did I die?
amazing that this guy who has
What the fuck
made
is
a
that
name
then?
for himself as the right wing's top psychopath on transgender issues is off by a factor of 1,000 when
God
asked
damn
the
it,
most
pay
basic
attention.
question you could think of. Imagine me going on the Joe Rogan show after I made a documentary called What is a Tiger? And when I'm asked how many tigers are left in the world, I go like, oh, my guess is a couple of millions. And then when I'm fact-checked to my face and told the number of tigers is roughly 4,000, I go, yeah, probably in the hundreds of thousands. It's like, dude, you just guessed millions. What are you even talking about? This is so embarrassing. I would consider, drastic measures if this ever happened to me. Getting exposed as such a dumbass to millions of people. And yeah, Media Matters should have
Did I
a few
lose all that shit?
because you're full of shit, Matt Walsh. Just incredible. And one thing I don't want to let slide because Joe Rogan, frankly, is too stupid to be trusted with an issue like this. The vast, vast, vast majority of trans men, if they get mastectomies, aka top surgery, get it over the age of 18. The reason for that is that the body is still growing, and getting this kind of surgery can be more complicated if your breasts are still in the process of forming. If you are below that age, let's say 16 or 17, there are a bunch of hurdles like consent of both parents, mental evaluation, and a team of doctors determining that it would be more dangerous to wait for this procedure than performing the procedure itself. It's much, much harder to get than Matt Walsh makes it out to be. Anyway, of course, this documentary is a huge success among the right, confirming all their beliefs about kooky liberals not even having a concept of what a woman is. Congress people mention it on the House floor in a positive way. It makes waves beyond the conservative sphere, as Matt Walsh is invited onto Bill Maher. He and his documentary even get a fawning write-up in one of Germany's largest newspapers called Die Welt, calling him a conservative Michael Moore. So from their perspective, this is a huge success. Now, Republican lawmakers and strategists see how much trans issues resonate among their base and conservatives more broadly, and tell themselves, hell yeah, this is how we're gonna win the midterms. Forget the economy, forget anti-vax stuff, this is where it's at. This is gonna fire up the religious right, the MAGA people, and get the independent voters on our side. So they pour a ton of money into anti-trans ads. And I have a couple of stories for you here from before the midterms. Going as far back as March, there is a story by NBC News titled GOP Candidates Unleash Wave of Ads Targeting Transgender Rights. It reads, two leading Republican Senate hopefuls in Pennsylvania are savaging each other in TV ads over who supported transgender surgery more. In Missouri, another GOP candidate for Senate surged when she criticized transgender swimmer Leah Thomas in a commercial. And in Alabama, a charter school for transgender kids has been invoked in ads as an issue in the Republican primary for governor. Like never before, Republicans in primaries across the country have made attacking transgender rights central to their paid media campaigns and stump speeches, focusing on issues of education, gender transitioning, and sports, according to the ad tracking firm AdImpact. Further down in the article, they interview a Republican consultant, and this is really funny and provides an insight into their rationale. This guy says, voters overall are nowhere near Democrats on this and the hard woke left. There is a biological difference between men and women. Once in a while, you find an issue that is your opponent's Achilles heel, where they are way over their skis. Democrats are stuck on this, because if they step out of line, they get smacked as transphobic. Keep this guy in mind for later when we discuss the election results. This article mentions $4.5 million in ads targeting transgender rights, which isn't that much money in the grand scheme of things, but that number only increased from when this NBC piece was published. In May, reported by USA Today, Republicans see anti-trans bills as key to midterm victory. September of 2022, also by NBC News, conservative group releases anti-transgender political ads in Michigan. The byline being, American Principles Project announced that it will spend millions in battleground states to expose Democrats' transgender radicalism. October 10th in Bloomberg, GOP looks to fire up base with attacks on transgender rights. Getting close to the midterms here now. November 1st in Politico, ads targeting transgender kids flood swing states. A group started by Trump administration alums is spending millions of dollars on battleground mailers and radio ads. Looking at all these headlines, you can really see how they went all in on this. And I have one more piece for you by NPR, published 5 days before the election. Right-wing groups spend millions of dollars on ads targeting transgender kids. Ahead of Election Day in the high-stakes 2022 midterm elections, right-wing groups have spent tens of millions of dollars on anti-transgender ads in battleground states. The narrator of an America First legal radio ad accuses President Biden of pushing children to take cross-sex hormones medication and get gender-affirming surgery. The Biden administration is pushing radical gender experiments on children, changing their names, clothes, identities, and bodies, the narrator says. They want boys in our daughters' bathrooms and sports teams. Conservative estimates on just how much Republican candidates and PACs spend on ads targeting trans children mainly come in at around $50 million. $50 million. In Michigan, which is a key battleground state, there were more ads on trans people in sports than any other campaign issue. Be it gas prices, inflation, or what have you, all paled next to the onslaught on trans people Republicans believed would be key to their victory. Okay, Republicans spent all this money, talk about trans people nonstop on Fox News or campaign trails, and you hear lots of talk about the red wave that's gonna sweep the country. I have a little compilation for you here, compiled from various Fox News programs by the Washington Post.
Red wave rising. That is the focus of tonight's angle.
It's going to be a wave election, and you're going to lose the Senate, and I'll bet you $1,000 right now.
The knives are being sharpened right now for Joe Biden.
You know, Democrats are going to get crushed on November 8th because a red wave is coming.
But I'm betting that Joy will learn 2 new words on
I
Tuesday.
got backtrack a bit.
Red wave.
How big could that looming red wave get?
We begin this Sunday morning with expectations of a red wave this Tuesday.
I think this election is going to be a red wave. I think we're going to win.
You know what? I
I think, your predictions of a red wave are accurate. And the reason I say that is because now even the mainstream media is catching up.
We've been hearing, is it going to be a red wave?
The red wave.
I think it's going to be a red
Remember the red wave?
Red wave comes, and it is coming. Joe Biden's political utility is
Hey, there we go. We got
in
both
for
of
a
them now.
red win here or a red wave.
Red wave
Yeah.
or red tsunami? What are you feeling today?
Oops.
Feeling red wave.
And don't listen to the lies they're spewing that this could
Who's
take
door?
days or days, to know who won. This is total BS. A wave like this, we should know that night, basically, who won the Senate and the House. Anything that happens Wednesday into Thursday is gravy.
And right out the back door,
Okay.
I've got a
Now
tropical
we got
storm
it.
brewing right now. I think they're saying could be a Category 1 by the end of the day. However, let me tell you what is a storm, that red wave. I'm telling you, if there's any indication based upon what we're seeing this morning, somebody made a surfboard, said the red wave is coming.
Now election day comes. Early on November 8th, a confident Matt Walsh tweets out, "The pollsters may not be asking about it, but there is no doubt that the Democrat Party was partially doomed by its decision to go all in on gender ideology. They successfully made this a losing political issue for them." A couple of hours later, the election results come in, and what happens? Republicans get fucking trounced. They lose seats everywhere except for New York and Florida. Michigan, a state that Trump won in 2016 and where Republicans spent more on ads about trans people than anything else. Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer wins her re-election in
It's such a weird thing to fucking care so much about.
Democrats even pick up a Senate seat as John Fetterman leaves his opponent in the dust. In Arizona, Nevada, and New Hampshire, all states where it was supposed to be a toss-up, the Democrats come out on top. Republicans are able to take the House, but only by a slither. Shortly before the runoff in Georgia, Republican candidate Herschel Walker makes a last effort to bring him over the finish line by airing an ad where he talks to a swimmer from Kentucky that had to compete against a
What's I'm
trans
supposed to do here?
Shortly after, he loses as well. Needless to say, Republicans got owned big time. I reckon that Republican consultant who describes these issues as the Democrats' Achilles heel is in for some uncomfortable meetings now. Considering what Republicans were expecting, these midterm results were nothing short of a disaster. Now, why is that? Obviously, there are a lot of reasons. Backlash from overturning Roe v. Wade is probably the single biggest reason behind their defeat. But there's also a point to be made regarding Republicans hammering trans issues prior to this election. Turns out their base is so far to the right, so far removed from the average person that a lot of people were just put off by their messaging. They saw Matt Walsh's nonstop rambling about children's genitals and thought, "Get away from me, you creepy weirdo." All while Democrats didn't run any ads talking about trans issues. So it's not even like Democratic messaging was just more convincing on this, but that Republican messaging was just so off-putting to the people in the middle. And I don't want to pretend that every independent voter is a strong supporter of trans rights, of course, but the hysteria created by Republicans around trans people existing in society did not do anything for them. Republicans were just too weird and creepy around this issue for the majority of voters. And I think that is a reason to be optimistic. The same election saw a number of LGBTQ candidates winning for the first time in some states, and in general I think we can see this election result as a big rebuke.
Figured that one out. Yay, smart me.
LGBTQ efforts.
Whoop.
And this is where I
Too
was
fast.
initially gonna end the show today, leaving on a positive note at least once in a while. But then something happened that casts all of this in a different light. That something being the shooting in Colorado Springs, where a gunman shot 5 people at an LGBTQ club. And this is really just part of the trajectory we've talked about so far. And I'm going to show you how using Matt Walsh as an example. After the Republicans fell short in the midterms, there was this very brief moment
shit. Fuck
they
me.
were kind of
Okay.
just stun-locked, looking at
Oh, I need to
themselves and
fucking
asking what went
save.
wrong.
God damn it.
Looking at themselves and asking what went wrong. Matt Walsh tweeted on November 9th, "Most Americans are widely dissatisfied with the direction of the country. but Republicans weren't able to harness that dissatisfaction. That speaks to a party without any kind of coherent or compelling national message. We need new leadership top to bottom. Really funny seeing Matt Walsh demand new leadership when, dude, that was you. You massively contributed to making anti-trans hysteria the Republicans' national message. Okay, so it's right after the midterms. And you see some analysts go the typical route of saying, you know, the Republicans really got to take a look at themselves and moderate and get back to kitchen table issues, blah, 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 as if that was ever gonna happen. And this is where those people have it backwards. Republicans didn't just run an anti-LGBTQ campaign because they thought this would be a winning issue, but because they genuinely believe this stuff. The topics they focus on stem out of bigotry more than anything else. This is a genuine campaign of, I don't know how else to put it, extermination. They want LGBTQ people, and trans people above all, to be removed from society. Their focus is not a strictly political calculation.
Bullshit.
And you can see that by them going right back at it after suffering a staunch defeat politically. On the same day that Matt Walsh said the Republican Party lacks a coherent national message, he tweeted, "We're full steam ahead here in Tennessee. Today, the Protecting Children from Gender Mutilation Act was officially filed. It will ban the mutilation and drugging of gender-confused children and provide victims the right to sue for damages. We're still getting wins on the board." And this is one of Matt Walsh's passions, if you're not aware. That passion being actually putting children in danger. A couple of months ago, in early August, he went on air and accused Boston Children's Hospital, among others, of, quote, butchering, mutilating, and sterilizing their young patients, and said that we have to stop making it so easy on them. Walsh wasn't the only guy who talked about this, but one of many right-wing mouthpieces demonizing this clinic, claiming they are doing hysterectomies on kids and so on. Shortly after, the people working there received death threats, phone calls, and a flood of hateful emails. On August 30th, the hospital had to go into temporary lockdown because of a bomb threat. Another bomb threat came in on September 9th, and a third one last month, in which the caller specified he placed the explosives in the section of the hospital responsible for gender-affirming care. All of this based on total lies. This children's hospital did never offer gender-affirming hysterectomies to girls under the age of 18. Never happened. This alone would be awful enough, but shortly after his first accusation in August...
I'm gonna use the restroom. Give me 1 sec.
he leveled similar accusations at the Vanderbilt Medical Center in Nashville, Tennessee.
Bring it
Walsh
back.
called
Cool.
out doctors by name on his show and said they castrate, drug and mutilate children to make money. This got gobbled up and spread around the right-wing political sphere,
They
and it wasn't
don't?
long until Tennessee Governor Bill Lee and other Republicans in the state called for an investigation into the clinic. Walsh supposedly met with Tennessee lawmakers about a bill that would force it to shut down. Same spiel as in Boston, tons of death threats against doctors or other people working at the clinic. And on October 7th, 2022, Vanderbilt Medical Center announced that it would pause gender-affirming surgeries for minors. And that word minors can be misleading because since 2018, this clinic had performed 5 such surgeries annually, all the patients being over 16 and having parental consent, with none of them receiving genital surgery. This is what Matt Walsh means. This is what Matt Walsh means when he says putting wins on the board. On November 19th, he was able to put another win on the board as a 22-year-old gunman entered a LGBTQ club in Colorado Springs, killed 5 people, and severely injured 18 more. Usually when something like this happens, something meaning an act of violence that is obviously partially motivated by the bigotry and hatred for minorities in the right-wing political sphere, the response is denial. The right wing denies that this has anything to do with their rhetoric and pretends to not even understand the allegation leveled at them. A good example of this is the Canadian mosque shooting in 2018 that the shooter himself claimed was caused by his fear of Muslims being terrorists. As part of the sentencing, his internet activities became public knowledge, and part of them was him visiting Ben Shapiro's Twitter page 93 times in the month before the shooting.
Jesus
also Tucker Carlson's
Christ.
page close to 50 times, and Coulter, Alex Jones. Now, I'm not going to claim that a perfectly adjusted human being will turn into a mass murderer simply by being exposed to right-wing rhetoric, obviously. But there are plenty of people out there, mostly young men, that aren't well-adjusted. And if your political movement thrives off of hate and fear,
Jesus Christ.
of course these
Some
men
guy
will
just
have an
keeps coming
easier
alive down
time
here.
latching onto that cause compared to others. As a response, Ben Shapiro condemned the mosque shooter and said that it was ridiculous that the left pretends someone will start murdering people just because they're a fan of his tweets, which of course nobody is saying. But that is really not important to what Ben is trying to do here. The goal is to deflect and hope everyone forgets about it quickly, while engaging in the exact same rhetoric until the next shooting happens. We saw a little bit of
fall all the way
that
down.
after the shooting in Colorado Springs. Republican Congresswoman Lauren Boebert tweeted that she is praying for the victims and their families. Very thoughtful to pray for the people she demonizes on a daily basis.
I know,
but
right?
the tone from the right shifted
So sweet of you.
relatively fast. Because of course, a tweet like the one from Lauren Boebert rings completely hollow, as the shooting is clearly the result of the hysteria the right wing has created around LGBTQ people. So instead, people like Ben decide to go on the offensive. After the shooting, Ben Shapiro tweeted,
there we
"The
go.
quest by the Democratic leadership and media to link a horrifically evil shooting at a Colorado gay club to anyone who doesn't support a progressive social agenda is ongoing and terrible for the country. It's a cynical game only one side plays, and it's trash." Matt Walsh follows suit and tweets, "Leftists are using a mass shooting to try and blackmail us into accepting the castration and sexualization of children. These people are just beyond evil. I have never felt more motivated to oppose everything they stand for with every fiber of my being. Despicable scumbags." I feel like a couple of years ago, this pearl clutching at anyone suggesting the right wing calling LGBTQ people evil, perverted, disgusting groomers that mutilate children leads to violence against LGBTQ people could have worked, but the calling for violence has become so obvious that it really doesn't. The mask has simply slipped too much by now. Nobody believes that Matt Walsh isn't either happy or is thinking something along the lines of, well, they had it coming about this shooting.
Okay, can
Because
destroy that
he
one yet, I
wants
guess.
LGBTQ people or drag queens to fear for their life if they are part of something he objects to, like reading books to children. Again, you don't have to take my word for it. Here is what Matt Walsh had to say about the shooting on his show.
According to the left, the drag queen child combination has become dangerous. They say it's a lightning rod for violent backlash. Right? That's what they say. And it's great.
There
It's
we go.
accurate, of course. Mostly it's invented out of whole cloth, actually. But even by their version of events, if it's causing this much chaos and violence, why do you insist on continuing to do it? If according to you, it's like putting people's lives at risk, if the effort to have men
Wait,
cross-dress in
what?
front of children is
You
putting
gotta turn
people's
that
lives
around?
at risk, why are you still doing it? Is it that important to you?
Now, not only does Matt Walsh, in doing this "why are you hitting yourself" routine here,
Yeah.
fail to grasp why people insist on being able to do something that is perfectly within
Oh,
their
fuck
rights,
me.
he almost spills the beans a little bit. Because what goes unsaid is that, yes, I do believe you deserve to get shot if you are at an event where drag queens read books to children. At this point,
how do you make it
you
over
probably
there?
don't need me to tell you how despicable people like Matt Walsh and Ben Shapiro are. They prove that themselves virtually every day and are perfectly aware of what they're doing. Their goal, and by extension the goal of the right wing in the United States, is for LGBTQ people to either not exist at all or not be part
Oh,
of the
fuck
public
off.
sphere in any way. A political defeat
Holy
like we
shit,
just
holy
saw
shit,
won't
holy
make them
shit,
stop
holy
doing
shit,
things
what is this
like
thing?
that. I think we all
Holy
know
shit.
that. But here's the thing. We have just seen the American public
I was not ready for that.
reject their anti-gay, anti-trans efforts in a way that could almost not have been more clear. So if you are part of the LGBTQ community, you might find some solace in the fact that the average American voter finds Matt Walsh ranting himself into a frenzy about trans people just as creepy and weird as you and I do. There will always be bitter hate preachers that fear the way of human progress, and sometimes
fucking
they get their
nothing.
way. But if the midterms show anything, it's that the majority of the electorate is not on board with hate and intolerance, and that if we keep working on it, the Ben Shapiros and Matt Walshes of the world will be left behind, while the rest of us move forward in universal
Okay,
brotherhood.
that's a thing we can climb up. Good to know. Fuck is this? Alright, is that the end of the video? Sounds like it might be. Alright, let's update our shit. Now we're just playing Ori and the Blind Forest, alright? Ori. Okay. Alright, let's turn some volume up here. Oh, is my picture-in-picture still going? Or did I close it? Okay. Help in options. Oh shit, the other thing I forgot to do. Just updated. No, I did. Okay, I updated the game. Alright. Cool. 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 My fault. Alright, now what? Okay, we can bust through that thing. Nice. Oh, fuck me. Okay. Okay. Boom. 10 more vitality. Okay, that's all that was down here though. Bullshit. Bullshit. Yeah. Alright, where the fuck do we go now? Oh, fuck this thing again. Fuck me, fuck me, fuck me. Fuck me, 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 fuck me. Cool. Sure. Whoopsie daisy. Okay. We'll do that. Oh, wait. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. Think I'm an idiot. Yep. Oh, we're not gonna make that. We're not gonna make that, are we? Are we? No, god damn it. Get it! Oh, I had it. I don't know if I can make that. Give it one more try. Nope. See, it's got to be like a certain. Okay. Just confused, so I didn't. Okay. Okay. Where am I supposed to be going? Okay. Oh, that's where I'm currently at. And down here's the thing. Get down there. Guess we can't travel from here. That's what I thought, but apparently not. Wait, is that a thing? Hang on. Nope. Okay. Not that I'm aware of yet, at least. Oh, this is where you travel from, right? Why? Warp. Where this takes us. Put this back this way. Okay, not that. Not that. I think I missed some shit. A couple places, possibly. Oh, there's something under the water. Okay, whatever's under the water I can't get to. Mm-hmm. The fuck am I going? Okay. Fuck me. Under this water now? Yep, see, shit under the water. I don't know how to get to it though. Okay. Big bunch of shit upward over here, though, too, that I missed. Yeah. New place. Wait. Oh shit. This just takes you right back. The fuck is this thing? Eh? Good to know. Yeah, how the fuck do I get up here? Maybe something I can't do right now? Dude, is it that jump? Do I have to make that fucking jump? Oh, that's right. That's right. Where the fuck do I want to go? Oh, duh. Duh, 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 duh. Jesus. Jesus, me. Oh shit, 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 shit. How do I always forget about this fucking thing? Holy shit. This is the way. I don't know what the fuck to get over there. Come on. I don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to do. How the fuck do I get over there? Where the fuck am I supposed to go? to get to that whole upper level over there. Humdy dum dum dum. Okay. Another one. You just gathering these fucking things or what? Okay. Wait, did that come with me? Why do they keep coming with me? Oh, 'cause I need 4 of them. Can I get 4 of them? Is that possible? I just keep wrecking this fool. Come back that time. Fucking perfect. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this over here. Keep walking over, see what we can find, huh? Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, that just gives me an ability point. Doesn't let me pick up any more of those things, and this is where that whole fucking upper area is, but there's no way to get up there. So cool. Cool. Good to know. Okay. Son of a bitch. Oh, let's level up. Nope, that's all done.
The cheating time almost? Must be cheating time already. Not even that far into this game, we're already cheating. Oh, here we go. There we go. Holy shit, nuggets, these fucking things are beasts. Holy shit. Life pickups will restore twice as much life. Halves the cost of charged land. Ooh, that's one. Those guys are annoying. Not reaching that. Okay. Shit. Come on, dude. Grab on that fucking thing. Nope. Fuck! Come on, bird. Crazy. What the fuck is that? Ooh, yes, please. No, dude. Fuck off. I am absolutely jumping over that. Damn these stupid fucking birds. I'm gonna fucking scream. So fucking annoying. Nope. Dude, fuck off. Oh my god. Jump fucking against the wall. Dude. I'm gonna fucking lose my shit. Come on, man. Come on. Get the fuck up there. Dude. How am I supposed to get past this? Dude. Fucking Christ. Christ, I fucking hate this. Nope. 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 Oh, this is annoying. Dude, it's so fucking dumb. Like, what the fuck? I don't feel like doing this a million fucking times. Dude, I'm gonna fucking scream. Fuck this bullshit one-hit nonsense. Fucking dumb. Oh my god. Dude. Why am I dying? I've been hit by this fucking thing before. Why is it killing me all of a sudden? Jesus fucking Christ, dude. Okay, cool. Nope. Fuck off. See, that one didn't kill me. Why? Why? Mm-mm. Dude, fuck off, man. Fuck off. Fuck off. Fuck off. Get up. Get up. Get the fuck up there. Get the fuck up there. Save. Fuck yeah. Well, that's objectively the most obnoxious part of this fucking game so far. Jesus Christ. the fuck am I? Oh, cool. We fell all the way back down. Nope. I don't fucking understand. I don't know what the fuck this game wants from me, bro. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't fucking make sense! What am I supposed to fucking do? Jesus Christ. What the fuck do you want from me, game? Yeah, whatever. Where the fuck am I supposed to go, dude? I don't fucking understand. Where the fuck am I supposed to go right now? Oh, this is getting annoying. We're in the blind forest. What the fuck? How do I even describe this shit? Like, where the fuck am I supposed to go right now? Valley of the Wind. Valley of the Wind. Cool. Let's see.
Welcome back.
Mm-hmm.
Increases the strength of the entire area. Not exactly sure what. In this
Am I even supposed to be in this fucking area yet?
Make our way through to the Misty Woods. We have found.
Oops. Oh, back.
Hey guys.
Watch this guy do this. See what we can learn from here. How is he doing? Am I crazy? Yeah, he's learned a jump that I don't. Wait. Yeah, I can't do this flip jump that he's doing, so okay. Can't be down here yet. Okay. Where the fuck are we supposed to be? Super helpful, game. Very helpful. Hollow Grove. Hollow Grove. Mm-hmm.
Get the energy point here just to save the game because you can only store. Well, at the moment, okay, let's head down here. One. Oop. Can I get my energy back, please? I think I used it. Even though I want to just grab it back. No, we don't have any energy at the moment. Okay. There is one. Oop. An energy point up the top here. Oh, whoops.
I'm sorry, what? Where did you just fall down to?
Oh, whoops.
Oh shit, wait. How do you get that thing to fall down?
Yeah, we can. Well, we can. Back across.
Dude, what in the fucking world ever implied to me that that was something I could do? Holy shit, fuck this game up its butthole. Whatever. Eh. Perfect. Cool. Go fuck off. Jesus Christ, man. Give it a fucking rest already. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. Fuck all you. Forgot to fucking save over here. Of course I fucking did. Oh, dude. Save? Nope. Hey, now we can save. Cool. Mm-hmm. Ooh. All right, progress. Fuck those guys too. Don't have a mapstone fragment yet. Sounds like a Scorpion song. Don't like it. Okay. Shit. Okay. Nope. Ooh, that was close. Nope. Ooh. Okay, can't make that jump. Cool. Hey. Holy shit, there's still a couple of them. EX. travel point, but we still gotta go back and deal with this shit. Oh, hang on. Can you get up there? Nope. Good lord. The other road. What's this shit? I wonder if that shit blows up the floor that I need blown up. Wait, that's what I want. That's not. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, they don't. Fuck! So fucking impatient sometimes. God damn it. Oh no. Dude, what? Done this like 3 times now. There we go. Yeah, there's the knotstone fragment. Cool. Fuck me. Fuck me. Stone fragment. Got him. Oh shit. I'm launching that shit. Oh fuck me. I need to stop running towards it. Save that. Oh fuck me. Oh fuck me. Alright. Well, we're ready for it now. Dude! Stop jumping so soon, bro. Holy shit. Oh, wait. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. No, 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 no. Can I get him to crash into that thing? Ooh, fuck. Okay. Okay. That is not a thing. Mm-hmm. Nope. Shit. Shit. I got a sketch. No, what the fucking fuck is that thing? There we go. That works. That's helpful. Holy shit. Holy shit. Woo. Now fucking what? Fuck. What am I supposed to do? So it's not that. What the fuck am I supposed to do then? Hmm. Seems insane to get fucking lost in a game like this. Hmm. Oh boy, alright. I'm fucking taking a break. This is annoying me. Alright, taking a break for a bit. I don't know, I might start streaming later for anyone who's watching.